The history of London is the history of its fog. For centuries, fog, a dense, damp mist, was an intrinsic characteristic of the city, immortalized in literature and film as a setting for mystery and romance. In the winter of 1952, a special fog, a pea fog as Londoners called it, began to form. But this was no ordinary fog. It wasn't white and ethereal. It was a dense, thick, yellow mist that engulfed the city for 5 days and became one of the worst environmental disasters in history. And very few people know what it really was. This is the account of a tragedy that began not with an explosion or a tsunami, but with the silence and weight of a poisonous air mass, which transformed the world's busiest city into a ghostly and deadly landscape. It is the story of an invisible killer who killed thousands without a single bullet or blade. To understand death, we must first understand air. London, in late 1952, still relied on coal as its primary energy source. Coal was burned in every home to heat homes, in factories to power machinery, and in power plants to light the city. Every day, London's chimneys belched a cloud of black smoke and pollution, an accepted byproduct of modern life. No one imagined that this smoke would one day turn against them. The Stage 4 disaster was set by a little-known meteorological phenomenon at the time, the temperature inversion. A layer of cold, stagnant air settled over the city, acting as a ceiling. Above it was a layer of warmer air, which prevented the cold air from rising and dispersing. As a result, all the smoke and pollution from the chimneys was trapped at the height of London's streets, with nowhere to go. On December 5th, the fog began to form. Initially, it was just a dense haze, but as the hours passed, the color changed. The gray turned to a greenish yellow, then a charcoal gray, almost black. The air became thick, with an acrid smell of sulfur and a metallic taste that stuck in your throat. The fog wasn't just in the sky, it was everywhere. Londoners initially accepted it as another of their usual pea fogs. They laughed, made jokes about the lack of visibility, and went about their lives. But things quickly spiraled out of control. Visibility dropped to just 3 feet. It was impossible to see your own feet. Life in London ground to a halt. Public transportation was the first to collapse. Bus drivers couldn't see the road, much less their passengers, and simply abandoned their vehicles on the roads, leaving them adrift in the fog. Trains were cancelled. Air and sea traffic was completely suspended. But the scariest thing of all was what was happening on the streets. People couldn't find their way. They bumped into each other, groping in the dense air for a wall or fence to follow. Flashlights were useless, as the light barely penetrated the soot-laden air. Witnesses described the scene as something out of a horror movie. Figures moving slowly, ghosts in a blurry world, hearing only the confused voices and coughs that echoed in the air. The fog didn't stop at doorways. It infiltrated every house, building, and even theater. At a London theater, the show had to be cancelled when the fog became so thick that the audience could unsee the stage, and the actors couldn't see each other. People inside their own homes coughed and struggled to breathe, tasting the bitter air. Panic began to set in as ambulances, the only ones that could save lives at that moment, became useless. They couldn't navigate the streets. Hospitals began receiving a frightening number of patients with respiratory problems. But initially, the cause wasn't attributed to the fog. Health officials believed it was a flu outbreak or a normal worsening of winter asthma. After 3 days, the truth began to set in. The death toll soared. Funeral services were unable to cope with the volume of bodies, and hospitals and morgues ran out of space. The silent fog wasn't just paralyzing the city, it was killing. The pollution, composed of sulfur dioxide and other toxic particles, was burning Londoners' lungs. The fog acted like a deadly cocktail, especially for the elderly, children, and those with respiratory problems. The death rate in London rose to more than 3,000 people in the first 2 weeks of December 1952. What was thought to be an inconvenience turned out to be a catastrophe. The most tragic and least known facts of the Great Smog involve animals. Thousands of urban poultry and livestock in markets died of suffocation.